Hello. Greetings. I'm going to turn off the music.
Hello.
Hello. Good evening, Molly. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
I can't hear you.
Hi.
I can hear you on here, but I can't hear you.
That's what I meant.
That's what I meant.
That's what I meant. Can you hear us
Yes,
there?
I can hear
Yes.
you on
Okay.
there. But if you ask me things, I can't hear you.
I know there's a delay. But
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's a delay,
Okay,
but also
we're good.
You're going to look at me.
Hello.
Okay, we got it. We got it. Okay. Hi, welcome.
Last minute
I know.
adjustments.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Welcome. Hi.
Hi. We're both a little sleep deprived.
Very sleep deprived, and I've been super busy in the day job, and so I'm just going to tell you straight up, my brain is not functioning at full, yeah. So it's going to be interesting tonight because we've got a lot to share with you.
We do. It's amazing what we have.
But I'm Jen with TFAR Reasons.
And I'm Marcia with Vintage for All Reasons.
Yep. And we are going to share with you tools of the trade and kitchen gadgets, not just tea gadgets, but baking gadgets and things that we use in the kitchen that we thought might be helpful for you to be aware of or to see used. And so it's going to be a long night. We say that every time, and then a lot of times we end really early. But we actually do think that we might run late on this one.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that. We may go past 9 o'clock, but we're going to try to keep things moving. And I'm wearing my chef coat. I thought
Doesn't that look great?
I did go to culinary school for 1 year, and this is not an original chef coat. I had to buy a larger size because things happen. But
Babies,
middle age, menopause, all of that.
Yeah.
So I don't weigh the same as I did when I was in culinary school.
it still looks nice.
Thank you very
It's
much.
Really nice.
It's nice. But I thought it would be fun because we're giving culinary school type information.
We are.
So, so we'll get right to it. So with quick announcements, Molly posted them in the comments. Well, first, my dad is on the camera as always, and Molly is monitoring the comments. And so if you have any questions at any point, or you figure you might, you gotta mute that.
I know. Like that's going to happen.
That was really loud.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
when you got to cough, you got to hit the button.
I know.
Anyway. See, this is my brain.
What are we doing tonight?
Yes, we are the tools of the trade. Okay. Reminder of our websites. So I'm at tforallreasons.com, and
I'm
at Etsy stuff.
No, not Etsy stuff. This is like a special thing tonight.
Okay.
And then next week I'll discuss it more, but I have some special things tonight.
Okay. So they'll have to email
So you'll
you.
need to email me at info@vintageforallreasons.com.
Right.
Don't look for them on the Etsy site because they're not there.
Okay.
Or you can private message me on the Tea for All Reasons page.
Through Messenger.
Yeah, through Messenger.
Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my email is info@tforallreasons.com. You're at the Tea for All Reasons page. If you're watching this live, you're at the page. That's where we host these live.
Right.
But there is a Facebook group, and I mention this every time. We've actually had a huge number of new members join in the last month, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And so welcome if you're here seeing your very first live.
Right.
But there's a Facebook group. If you go to facebook.com/groups with an S, groups, plural, /Tea for All Reasons, you'll see my Tea for All Reasons teapot is my avatar for the group. And you do have to, it's a private group. You have to answer the questions to be approved to the group. I've rejected a lot of people as well because they did not answer the questions properly. And so make sure to answer those questions, get right into the group. And so that's that. I wanted to let you know real quick before we get to this, that the fall teas will be back in the shop online on September 1st.
Yay!
On or around September 1st.
Yay!
Yep. Some of them are in the shop year round, but there are a lot that I take out of the shop when they're out of season, and those are going to get added back. And then also the fall sampler will be put back in. And
awesome.
I haven't even looked at the teas that I had last year. I've been so busy this summer. It's been crazy, and we haven't even had a major hurricane yet. So
That's right.
pray that we have no hurricanes, because I don't.
It affects your work.
I don't have the mental bandwidth to deal with a major disaster. But I may switch up some of the teas that are in the sampler, but I may not, because it's just easier not to. So I'm being real. That's where I am right now.
You want feedback on that from anybody or no?
Yeah, I mean, sure. You can send me a message on the group.
Yeah.
Or, whatever. Send me an email.
It will be taken into consideration.
It will be taken into consideration for sure. It'll depend on how I'm feeling, to be honest. That's really where I am right now. It's like, okay. And then the last announcement here at the beginning, so tonight is all about the necessities, right? And I am going to show the tea gadgets. That'll be closer to the end when I do the tea demo, and I actually demonstrate how some of these they're over here. Some of the tea gadgets work. We're going to do generic kitchen gadgets.
Yeah.
First of the gadgets.
And most of them have to do with baking things that you would prepare for tea.
Right.
Not, like roasting and stuff like that. So
for the most part.
There are a couple things, but we're trying to focus on things that you would find helpful.
Right.
To put on an afternoon tea.
Right. But with that, the necessities at the website are on sale right now. Sale started today, goes through next Saturday, 15% off all necessities. Pretty much every necessity, I think, is on sale. That includes mugs, teacups, teapots.
That's awesome.
Tea cozies. It's all on sale.
Yeah, and go to the website and you'll see necessity.
In the category.
In the category.
Yeah, there's a necessity category, or at the top in the bar, there's a link. There's a button. There's a banner at the top that explains the sale on the website. There's a button there that will take you right to that category, and you can see everything.
Okay.
You won't see the discount on the items. The discount is taken in the cart.
Okay.
You don't need to add a coupon code. It automatically applies when you add the item to the cart.
Awesome.
And with that, we're going to do the baking demo.
I know.
And I'm doing the baking demo tonight.
Oven.
Yeah, we need the oven on 425. Thank you. So I thought that I would share about sourdough starter, and the baking demo is going to be sourdough scones. And so we're going to move over here. And because sourdough seems to be a hot thing right about now, and so I thought, I can do a quick little primer on sourdough starter, and I'm not an expert by any means, but I do have sourdough starter, and I have baked with sourdough starter.
Yes.
I have yet to bake bread.
Really?
My husband made bread, I think the first week. He did like a rough sourdough bread.
Mm-hmm.
His devil bread,
mm-hmm.
I call it devil bread because it's bread, and I try not to eat a lot of bread.
But he did a
sourdough version. It was delicious, and we have not made bread since.
Okay.
I've done biscuits. I've done scones. That's pretty much it. Biscuits and scones, because they're easy. Pancakes. We did pancakes once. Yeah. Waffles.
Yeah. Wow.
Molly's nodding her head. But primarily biscuits.
I told you, it takes me a minute.
Yeah. Those cheese biscuits
that
I made.
They were good. Yeah.
Anyway, so I'll leave this here. So we're going to come over. So before we move, so I'm going to do the baking demo, explain sourdough starter and all of that. And then we'll take a short little break.
Once she gets the scones
Once the scones are in the oven, we're going to take maybe a 5-minute break. And then we'll come back and we'll do the kitchen gadgets, which there are a lot here. I don't know if you can see them on camera. And then when we finish the kitchen gadgets, we'll probably take a 10-minute break after that, because we need to clear all of this off to set up for the tea gadgets and the tea demo. And so we'll have 2 breaks tonight. So just be aware of that. Okay. All right. Now we're going to move into the kitchen, and I will share about sourdough. Okay. And I've thought about how I want to do this, but I didn't really prep a lot. So I'm going to try to keep this as short as I can, but good information. So sourdough, if you're not familiar, sourdough starter has been around 150 years or more. The famous sourdough came out of the migration west, where they would create this flour and water starter. And I'm going to show you. This is some sourdough starter that I separated out from my other jar, and I'm going to show the other jar. And they would travel with it like this, or they would dry it and then reconstitute it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can dehydrate,
Okay.
you can dry it,
Okay.
and then reconstitute it with water, and then feed it with additional water and flour and get it going again. So our sourdough starter was gifted to us by my sister-in-law at Christmas she was told that it was a 150-year-old starter from San Francisco.
Oh, my word.
Well, in my research, what I've found is it may have originally been a starter that was in San Francisco, but this is not a 150-year-old starter. This is week-old starter.
Okay.
Because every time you use, it basically becomes a new starter. Because the bacteria and the yeast and the length of time that you let it ferment, or it sits in the fridge or whatever it is, it basically becomes a new starter every time you feed and use. Someone, I was talking about sourdough with somebody, and that's what he explained to me. So my starter is not actually 150 years old. It's a week old. Actually, this starter is like a couple days old because I just fed it the other day. This one. And I'll explain the difference in a minute. So anyway, it's basically when you start from scratch, it's basically equal parts water and flour, and you want to use a bread flour or rye. You want it to be, or even whole wheat. And I actually had to fix the starter that we were given. It was too liquidy, and I had to do some research because it wasn't fermenting. And I did some research on it, and I found a website on how to fix your broken starter or whatever, using rye or whole wheat. And so I used whole wheat flour in my starter for about 2 weeks so that it got good and bubbly and sour again. And then I've gone back and I basically use, and I used bread flour too for a bit, but I'm using all-purpose flour.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, so if you ever struggle with your starter, go to a stronger wheat. I mean, go to a stronger flour, and it should bring it back.
Okay.
But anyway, what it does is it takes a week to 2 weeks, that first starter of feeding and discarding, before it's ready to actually be used. And what happens is the natural yeasts, like you're not adding yeast to your starter. It's literally water and flour. That's it. The natural yeast and bacteria develops as it ferments. And that's what creates the sour taste, but also the healthy bacteria that's in the bread. So what's interesting about sourdough, if you have a gluten intolerance, you may be able to eat sourdough, even if it's made with whole wheat bread or whole wheat flour, because the gluten is, it's in there, but it's reduced significantly because of the bacteria that grows in the sourdough over time. So if you have celiac, you probably don't want to do it because that's actual disease. Right. But if you're just gluten intolerant, you may actually be able to tolerate a good sourdough bread. Homemade sourdough, not the sourdough that you buy in the store, because they add other things to it. Okay. But if you're making your own sourdough bread, you may be able, and you have a gluten, like you think you have a gluten intolerance, you might be able to do sourdough.
Okay. That's good to know.
Something, if you want to try.
Right.
So sourdough takes a regular series of feeding and refreshing to encourage that natural yeast to grow in the starter. And you do have to use it or dump it. If you're not going to use it, it's called the discard, and you can either put it in a different jar and save it for use another time, or just throw it away if you're not able to bake something with the discard. You can use the discard, and that's what we're going to use for these scones. So this is technically discard. It hasn't been fed for a couple of days, so it's not bubbly and everything, but it still works. It's just not active, and you wouldn't use this for bread necessarily.
Okay.
So you would use discard for pancakes, waffles, the biscuits, scones. They're like banana bread, corn muffins. I mean, there's so many things.
So how long is the discard good for?
Depends on where you store it. If it's on the counter, you want to use it within a day or two, probably, because it will go bad. Or you can store it in the fridge.
And what did you do with this one?
So I actually took this out of my jar this morning.
Okay.
So I fed my starter in here. I'll show you. So this is my actual jar that I keep my sourdough in. And I have a band. I bought this specifically to keep my starter. This is for sourdough starter. It has a thermometer on it, and it has a band, and then it also has measurements. Thank you very much. Where you can see how much starter you have. So I have 400 grams of starter in this jar. I don't really watch the temperature too much. 78 to 80 is where it likes to be. My house is cooler than that. And I don't really have a good place to put it to keep it warm, that warm. So mine in the winter was hovering in the 60s.
Oh.
But it would still ferment,
work.
bubble, and work. In the summer, it's a little warmer. Like your house is 75.
Yeah.
The starter in the jar is 75.
Okay.
But I fed this at 6 a.m. this morning, and the top of the band is where it was when it started. And so you can see it's grown. It's actually fallen.
It grew and then fell down.
And then it fell because it's past its peak growth.
Okay.
But it's still an active starter. And so if I wanted to bake bread, this would be what I wanted to use to bake.
Now,
bread.
to get the discard, do you spoon it out or do you
I poured it out, so you can
out.
see my jar is kind of a mess, and it's a little dry on top. You can see maybe too low, but you can see where it was bubbly earlier today.
Yeah.
It was much more like larger bubbles. These are smaller bubbles than what were there, but you can see this line right here. That's where it went up to, and it's fallen from that line.
And that's normal.
And that's normal. Yep, absolutely normal.
Is it going to fall anymore?
It will. It'll fall more.
Okay.
Like tomorrow morning, it won't be down where the band is, but it'll be down.
And so is that an indicator it needs to be fed some more?
Or used.
Or used.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I do typically feed every day or every other day.
Okay.
If I was only going to feed it once a week, I would put it in the fridge.
Okay.
To keep it from getting moldy. It will get moldy.
Okay.
And sometimes if it's over fermented, it might smell like acetone. If you start getting that acetone smell in it, it's over fermented. It's fixable. You just feed it. But like right now, it just smells sour.
Yeah, it does.
It smells like sourdough.
It does.
bread.
Smells like sourdough bread.
Yeah. And then because this is made for sourdough, it comes with this cloth top, which protects it from anything falling in, but it does kind of allow for air circulation. If you use a mason jar with an actual lid, I don't recommend closing it all the way when you're growing it, or it will stunt the growth, but also it will leak out because it needs the room to grow.
Right.
If you're using a mason jar, you want a much larger jar unless you plan to keep your starter small.
Okay.
I put the lid on it because one, I was transporting it and it's discard.
You're using it up tonight.
I'm going to use that up tonight.
Okay.
Yep. So that's what it looks like.
That's interesting.
Yep. What does it mean to feed it? So I'll explain that.
Somebody suggested that their daughter, to get it warmer, puts it in the oven with just the light on.
Yeah, you can do that. I've been reluctant to do that because I have 5 people in my house, 4 of whom use the oven on occasion, and I don't want anyone to turn on the oven with the light off and kill my starter. A friend of mine had that happen, and I was heartbroken for
They
her.
would bake her starter.
Yeah, the starter got ruined because it got preheated in the oven.
Yeah.
So no, I keep mine next to my coffee pot, so it gets a little burst of warmth when the coffee brews once a day. But I really don't worry about, I'm like, there are diehard sourdough people who, like, they have a thermometer and they're checking the temperature and they got a timer and they're checking, like, I'm a very casual sourdough starter user, which is why I don't bake bread. I will say this, baking sourdough bread is a lot of steps. It takes time, cause you have to do the folds, and, I don't have time for that. I did make focaccia a few times. But again, you gotta do all the folding periodically. I don't have time for that. So that's why it's not happening anymore.
But Kevin could do it.
Oh, he won't do it.
He won't do
Won't
it.
do it.
Okay. He likes his way.
Yeah. Okay. So someone asked, what does the starter consist of? It's literally just water and flour.
Yeah.
It's equal parts water and flour. And so for me, what they say is if you have 25 grams and it's weighed and you do weigh it, and if you don't have a kitchen scale, the way to think about it is if you have a quarter cup of starter already, like you bought starter from someone or someone gifted you starter, and you have a quarter cup, when you feed it, you're going to add equal parts flour and water to that quarter cup. Typically what I do is about a quarter cup each. Quarter cup flour, quarter cup water. I stir it up, and this is my spatula that I use to stir up don't use metal. You want wood or silicone. Don't use a spoon because it will kill, the metal reacts.
Oh, that's an important tip.
And will kill it.
Yeah.
This is the spatula that came with my jar. And so every morning or afternoon, whenever I think about it, when I'm feeding, I put my jar on the scale and I take this off and I zero out the scale with the jar on it. So it starts out to 0. And then I add my water first, and I do use warm water, and I use this little cup measure. I do use tap water. That's probably room temperature, warm. I don't measure. I don't check the temperature. I'm not using
just like lukewarm.
Lukewarm. And I'll pour 25. I aim for 25 grams. I put the water in first because usually this is crusted over a little bit, and the crust is fine. Crust is fine. You just stir that in.
And 25 grams is how much?
25 grams. I don't know because I use 20. I don't measure this. I just put water in here. I use the scale.
Ounce in weight.
Yeah, I use 25 grams. I'm watching the scale.
Okay, gotcha.
Because I'm on the scale.
Yeah.
Or do a quarter cup. Like if you're going to measure, use a quarter cup. Just think quarter cup.
Okay.
Quarter cup.
Yeah.
So I use 25 grams and then an equal amount of flour. So there are days where 27 grams goes in, 28 grams of water goes in. I use the same amount of flour. And then I mix it up thoroughly. Like I go down to the bottom of the jar and I really give it a good scrape. And I try to scrape all of this stuff off of here. I actually, I want to get all of it in there, and then it's very sticky, and I'll scrape on the side and I get that down in there. And then whatever's stuck on here, I use my finger to slide off and get in there. Like I get every drop back into the jar. Now I went on a trip at the end of July, and I put this in the fridge. So it was in the fridge for 2 weeks. I took it out this week and I fed it several days, and this is where it got to.
Okay.
Cause it was down maybe, below the 200.
Just
mark.
by being in the fridge.
Just by being in the fridge.
Okay.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, and I had dry, crusty stuff all up here. I did take a spoon and I just kind of scraped it down. Those dry bits are good starter. This right here is good starter.
And they just dissolve into
it dissolves.
Oh, that's good to know,
right
because you would
into it.
think, that would be nasty.
No, that's why I leave my jar like this.
Okay.
When it comes up and it re-moistens all of this, I scrape it back down into it.
Cool.
Yeah. Keep it all.
Yeah, really.
It's gold. Keep it all. Okay, so I'm not using that one. So anyway, so that's feeding it. You're adding the equal parts water and flour to your active starter. And that's it.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty basic. And then, so I did want to give credit to where I got all of my information and where I get most of the recipes that I use, because she's amazing. And Molly's going to add the website in the comments, but, her website is amybakesbread.com. And I found her on Instagram through a friend, my friend Julie. and her daughter, they use her recipes
okay.
too. And so thanks, Julie. I can't remember exactly how I found her, but it was definitely on Instagram and amybakesbread.com. And she has a gajillion recipes using active starter and discard. And most of this information that I printed out to share with you, I got from her website. Like, she's done the research. She has tips and tricks. She actually has a really detailed explanation on how to start your own starter. Like what flours to use, and then like a day by day, here's what you need to do if you're starting your own starter from scratch. It's fantastic. She's got pictures. She's got a diagram that shows the fermentation cycle. She's great. And so I highly recommend, like, none of this information is from my head. It's all from her.
That's great.
Or from what I've learned.
Okay.
Anyway.
Very good.
So she says her typical feeding schedule is 10 grams of starter, like whatever's left in the jar. And she makes a big batch. So she starts with 10 grams of starter, and then she adds 100 grams of all-purpose or bread flour and 100 grams of water. So she actually has a really large jar. I've seen her videos where she's pouring it out of her jar. So you can start with a very small amount of starter and create a much larger starter, depending on how you feed it.
Yeah, very cool.
And then one thing she says too is, she says and I think I said this in the beginning, when you start from scratch with a fresh, like you're taking your own flour and water and creating your starter, she says you're going to throw away that discard during the weeks that you're building that sourdough starter up. It's not good to eat because it's full of excess yeast and bacteria. Like, it's too much.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Once your starter is predictably rising and falling, it's okay to start using it in discard recipes, but you're not going to use the active starter yet. Once your starter is predictably rising and falling, you can change up your feeding schedule to fit your life too. So when you're starting a starter from scratch, you have to go by that schedule to ensure that your starter is going to grow properly. But once it's reached that point where it's stable, like mine is, then you can feed it however it works. And she says you can feed once a day, you can feed once a week.
And just to go back, so just to clarify, or if I'm wrong on this, you did say that the discard is used for things like scones and biscuits and pancakes
and waffles.
So
the active starter is what you're using for bread. And she's got and I was going to show this. So this is a boule. I'm sure you've seen it. And I've never used it. I bought it with the intent to make bread, and I have yet to make bread. And I have the oval, and I also have a round one, and it does come with the fabric. So you're gonna ultimately, this thing is gonna be so laden with flour, because you don't wash it, because you're gonna put your like once your loaves are formed, you're gonna put them in here to rise, and then you take them out and you do the slicing for the pretty things, and then you bake them.
So obviously,
but I've never used this.
As opposed to other bread where you grease a bowl.
Right. You're not
doing that.
No, you're not using any grease. Your flour.
So you're really better off using this than a bowl.
Yeah. Well, you can use a bowl, but you need to make sure it's floured really well, or you've got parchment in it, or something.
All right.
But I do plan on making bread maybe someday. I've got the bowls. Or you can use a tea towel. Make sure it's really clean. Use a tea towel. Kevin uses tea towels for bread.
Right.
And a basic stainless bowl. That's what he does. But, yeah. And then, and then she says, if you ever see orange or pink, like if it turns orange or pink, or it has fuzz on it, it's moldy, and throw it away. You have to start over.
Yeah.
Fortunately,
there's no scraping off.
You can't scrape it off. The mold, if you see the mold, it's all in it.
Yeah. So
it's all in it. So you have to throw it away. And you can't, it doesn't go away with feeding. No. You have to toss it and start over, so anytime I think I'm not going to be able to feed it on a regular basis, I put it in the fridge. It's safe in the fridge.
Okay.
And I made the mistake when I went on my trip that I put it in the fridge with this lid. This jar comes with a screw lid that would make it airtight. I should have used that lid, but it came out fine.
Okay.
It
All
just was extra crusty on top.
Okay.
But like I said, you push that down into the starter and
No harm.
it softens back up.
Good.
It's weird at first when you're pushing that crusty stuff down in there because it's hard,
Yeah.
but it softens right up.
Okay.
And
Did you explain what it means?
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, flour and water.
Very good.
Okay, yeah, I think I explained. everything.
I learned a lot, and yeah.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yep.
Are you ready to go with it?
I mean, it takes a commitment
Yeah.
to like when my sister-in-law gave it to me, I was like,
What have you done?
I have to maintain this starter now. But it's actually, in the morning when I get up, I get my coffee, I feed the starter, I set it aside, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
It's just figuring out, okay, when am I going to use this? How am I going to use this?
Right.
And that's why I've only made biscuits and scones lately.
Mm-hmm.
The biscuits are so easy.
Yeah. And there's
I mean, you saw because I
Yeah.
made them that night
really
at
good.
dinner, and they're
Okay.
very good. So go to amybakesbread.com and check out her information on sourdough and her recipes. And if you, because it's absolutely amazing. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to make her sourdough discard scones. I actually have a different recipe that I've used. Sorry, I got a cough. I have a different recipe that I've used for scones, but I thought since I'm promoting Amy's website, I don't even know this lady. I just like her videos. They're great. But I should use Amy's recipe for scones. It's not that different from the other one that I do.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah, you need something
I
out
need
of the
the butter out
and
of
the
freezer
and the cream.
and the heavy cream.
Oh,
yes.
you need eggs.
And 2 eggs. Yes. But I wanted the eggs cold. It all needs to be cold.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right. Get my act together here. All right. So she uses weights, and so the best way to bake is if you weigh your ingredients. If you watch the Great British Bake Off, I'm watching Mom get the eggs out of the fridge. You're fine.
All right.
You're fine. Then you've seen, if you have never watched it, you need to watch it. It's fantastic. But if you've watched it, then you know that they weigh all of their ingredients. That's the most accurate way to measure your ingredients for baking. And all of Amy's recipes are in weights. She does give an approximate measurement, cups, tablespoons, teaspoons, but I weigh, because then I know that I have the most accurate measurement of all of the ingredients. And so for this recipe, and I'll post a link to this recipe on Monday at Food for All Reasons. I'm going to give you the weights, but don't try to write it down. I'll post the link. Okay, so I'm using all-purpose flour. And so I already measured this out. I have 380 grams of all-purpose flour. I have 90 grams of granulated sugar. I have 13 grams of baking powder and 4 grams of salt. And my first instruction is to whisk together those 4 ingredients. So in my bowl, I'm going to pour the flour in. Can you hear the eggs?
Yeah, I could hear.
Oh, because of her microphone. Yeah. So I have the flour. I'm adding the sugar, the baking powder, and the salt. And I'm going to grab a whisk, just a basic whisk, and I'm going to mix that together so that all of those dry ingredients are well mixed up. All right, perfect. Okay. And then I have 113 grams of butter. Believe it or not, it looks like cheese, but that's butter that I grated earlier today and stuck in the freezer so that it's very cold. You can see it's all hardened from being in the freezer. You want that butter to be really cold. That's going to help get off my hands. The scones to be fluffy. Okay, I got problems. Get off. All right. So I believe my next step is to incorporate that butter, into the flour mixture. And so I'm going to use my fork. This was my grandmother's mixing fork that we use and broke. I use this for biscuits and scones. My husband uses it when he makes his devil bread. I think we use this a lot. I think it's aluminum. It's very lightweight. It's not heavy at all, but it's nice size for mixing up stuff like this. So I'm going to get this butter, and I grated it so that it's small pieces, and then I don't have to use that pastry cutter to cut it in. I basically am just going to dump this in and incorporate it with the flour. And it melted on the bowl. Try to get all this butter out. Get all of it. Get it. All right, that's going to have to do. All right, and she says to whisk this in the flour so it's well incorporated. I'm going to use the fork because that's why I have it. Mix it in, mixing. So that all that butter is coated and well incorporated. Kind of break up.
It really does make it easier, doesn't it?
It really does. Like as painful as it was to grate that,
Mm-hmm.
Because it was melting
Mm-hmm.
in my hand, it definitely makes it easier.
That salted butter.
Unsalted. I always use unsalted butter in baking unless the recipe specifically calls for salted butter. There are some that will call for salted butter, like chip balls. You know it.
Would you like to talk about
Is there
this
a question? Yeah. Use metal. Yeah. So someone's asking, you can use metal to prepare for cooking, but not to mix while being fed. Yes. So you don't want to use anything metal in the starter itself when you're feeding it, because it will kill it has some kind of reaction. When you're using the starter for, you're adding it as an ingredient, you can use the metal at that point. You're not trying to grow it. You're getting ready to use it.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Very good question.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
Someone else just asked what calls for salted butter.
There are certain cookie recipes.
Cookie recipes.
Yeah.
Call for salted butter. Maybe pie dough for certain
certain
pastries.
Yeah.
You'd want that salt in the butter. But generally they want you to use unsalted, and then you can control the amount of salt that goes into your recipe, because not all butter companies use the same amount of salt in their salted butter.
Right.
And so you have no idea what that's going to be. Okay, so I think that butter is well incorporated in there. And then in a separate bowl, whisk together the eggs, sourdough discard, heavy cream, and vanilla. And so those ingredients are 2 eggs. So I'm going to add my 2 eggs first. There's a reason why I'm doing this the way I'm doing it.
That's right.
And it's on the scale. So I brought this to show. Mom doesn't have one of these. This is my 4-cup measuring thing. I use this every day. And so I brought it because
I need one.
You need one.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you don't have one.
I have a plastic one.
No. This
I
one's
need
better.
that.
This
Yep.
one's better. Okay. And I have not turned on my scale yet because I want my scale to be at 0 after I've added the other things before I add because
Okay.
I'm going to weigh this.
Okay.
These I've already weighed.
Very precision.
Much precision.
Minded,
Yes.
yeah.
So 2 eggs and then 4 grams of vanilla extract, which I weighed out earlier today. And I'm gonna go ahead and scrape all of that in there. And then my heavy cream. Now there you go. Now I'm gonna turn on the scale. This power. And it's grams, and it says 0. And I need 60 grams of heavy cream. And so I'm going to pour that in until it's 60. Oh, 61. Close enough.
Okay, here I got it.
Okay. And I'll need that at the end too.
Okay.
Okay. Now there's a button on here where you can TARE, T-A-R-E, your scale. T-A-R-E, your scale back to 0.
Okay.
So it's showing 60 grams right here. I'm going to push this button and it takes it back to 0.
Okay.
Now I'm going to add my sourdough discard.
This is why it's so important to use a kitchen scale.
Yeah.
For this.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So I measured out 100, this should be 113 or 14 grams of starter. This only calls for 100 grams of starter. So if you want some starter, you'll have some starter. Oh, I used the, hold on. I gotta rinse that off. Because if you want that starter, you don't want vanilla in it. I used it to, okay. So I'm going to pour out of this jar 100 grams of my discard. This is sourdough discard into these ingredients. And it's going to be most of this, but it might leave you 10 grams and you can start your starter.
So how many grams you need?
100.
Okay.
And I thought I weighed out 100. Oh yeah, we're good. Oh, stop.
Mm-hmm.
91. And you can see how goopy it is. It's very sticky. I wish you could smell it. Because you can smell it.
Mm-hmm.
95. Maybe there won't be any starter.
That's all right.
Yeah. It's 100. I mean, there's a little. You could add some flour and water to that. You smell it? Yeah. Okay. This says whisk it together. So I'm going to whisk this together. I'm going to take it off of the, because you want to break up the eggs and you want to mix that really well. And we're at 7:42 already.
That's all right. This is good stuff. So don't worry about the time because this is good stuff.
Okay. All right. So you can see that it's pretty well incorporated. I'm going to need a spatula.
A rubber spatula.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please. Okay. Put it in there. All right. And then I think I'm ready to pour this in. I just want to make sure. Add the liquid to the, okay, so till smooth. So I mixed it until it's smooth and incorporated. Now I'm adding this liquid to the flour mixture. I'm going to add it all in. And I'm going to stir it together. This is where, there it is. And I want to get every drop because I measured it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important. Get it all. Okay. Thank you very much, my assistant. And now I'm going to stir this up. And I spin the bowl and I just kind of fold it all in there. This is folding. I start out gently folding it to incorporate. Because you don't want to overmix, but you definitely want to get all of that flour mixture wet and mixed up really well.
You're done with the scale?
I'm done with the scale. Yep. All right, and I see dry in the bottom, so I'm gonna work this. I might need to add a little more cream.
Okay.
Maybe, but I'm going to keep working at it. So stuff accumulates on the fork. What I like about this fork, and you can't find a fork like this, is that these tines on the back actually have a nice edge, like almost like a knife edge. Mm-hmm. It's not sharp,
right?
But it helps to scrape stuff off. I like it. It's a good fork. All right. So let me see. It's looking pretty good. I want to see how dry it is under there. It's still pretty dry, but I think I'm going to be able to work that in.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's
Oh, you know what I need? My pan over there.
Yeah, I know. You need a parchment or no?
Yeah, I do parchment.
Okay.
And we don't need to, but
Here, that's to wipe the counter off.
thank you very much.
And you want your small pan?
Yes, please. Okay, let's get this cleaned off, and then I've got Mom's magic flour. Taking off the lid because I'm going to need. This is a sticky dough. And we use the counter because we can. It's clean.
And cold.
And cold, yes. But in Amy's instructions, she says to put a piece of parchment paper down on your counter. So it depends on your counter. I use my bare counter at my house as well when I do this for biscuits. All right, I'm trying to bring it together. I'm going to dump it to see if I need to add cream, because if I need to add cream, I'm doing that in the bowl.
It's very loud.
The parchment?
Stirring off the parchment.
Yeah, every time she's off doing something, she's so curious. She's very camera.
Well, because she's wearing a microphone. All right, I think I'm going to, oh, that looks really dry. That may have been a mistake, but I'm going to work it. And I will say this, from having made biscuits and scones with sourdough, it is more forgiving than a traditional. That added moisture from the sourdough starter does actually help if you need to work it to bring it together. Normally I wouldn't work them this hard, but I think we're still going to have a soft scone. But yeah, this is dry. This is a little dry. Yeah, I needed to add cream, but we're going to make it work.
Okay.
And I also don't want to melt the butter that's in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I needed. It's dry today. Oh, it's coming together.
Yeah, it's coming together.
Coming together.
I think it's going to be fine.
It takes a little work sometimes. So I'm kneading it, but I'm not kneading it like I would bread. Like, you're going to be more vigorous if you're kneading bread. I'm just trying to get that moisture that's in the liquid that was added, incorporated into all of that dry ingredient. And we're getting there.
Do you want the rolling pin?
Nope.
You're just going to do it by hand? Okay.
Yep, I do it by hand. Okay. All right. It's still looking dry in here, but I'm going to go with it. Okay, so she says to make an 8x10 circle and then cut into triangles, but I'm going to use my biscuit cutter to make round, traditional looking scones. And I used to use a rolling pin, and I stopped using a rolling pin, and I went to just patting it out with my hands because I was rolling them out too thin.
Oh, yeah.
Because you lose track.
Yeah, I guess maybe I've done it so many years that,
Well, I'm still,
yeah.
yeah. So,
and then, I usually go like that.
yeah, I'm getting there. But, that doesn't look too bad.
That looks good. And that's probably the right height.
Yeah.
About an inch.
Yep. About an inch high. So it's going to be thick. It's kind of the consistency of, pie dough.
It is. Mm-hmm.
Is what it'll feel like. But,
yeah, and they're gonna bake together nicely. Yeah. That butter is
the butter is gonna be good. So, remember, don't twist your cutter. Just go straight down, bring it right back up. So you can see those flaky.
Yeah.
You can see the layers in there. And then I actually put them pretty close together on the pan.
Because they help each other rise. The heat from their neighbor helps them to rise.
Yep. And I also cut them out pretty close. So I don't worry about being up on the edge because they don't spread wide. They just go up. So I put them close to the edge and I put them close to each other.
They look fabulous.
Thank you. And I am going to cut. I don't worry if it's just for the family, I don't care if I've got cutouts on my circles because they don't care. Right. If I was doing this for a tea party, I would be more careful.
Yeah.
To make sure they were all perfectly round.
Ones with the cutouts do eat.
They do. Yeah, they taste.
Yeah, they're fine.
They taste as they should. Okay, so then I pull all the scraps together into a ball, and then I press it out again.
You get another couple.
To get another
couple, 3 maybe. Yeah, that's lovely.
And then this is my dad's favorite. Although I'm going to get a whole one out of here. and I can feel the butter is melting.
Yeah.
The more I work that dough. Here, you want to taste the dough? You want to taste the dough?
No.
And then the little scraps I'm going to make into a little ball. The little baby scone. Okay. Then you take some of the cream and spread it on top.
And you don't want to have it on the sides because that really impedes the rising. So it's just on the top that you want to put the cream.
Yeah. And I do a pretty generous.
Yeah, I do too.
Dollop on there. It helps to, the browning looks nicer.
Yeah.
When you have the cream on there.
And if you have run out of cream, you can use milk.
Yeah.
Or you could do an egg wash.
Yeah. Some do an egg wash.
Yeah. I don't like to do an egg wash. I think it makes it crustier on top.
Yeah. I prefer the cream on top.
Yeah. That's just the way we've always done it.
Yeah. And it does impart a little bit of flavor. That cream toasts a little bit, and it's kind of yummy.
Yeah. Now, do you sprinkle these with sugar? Or
I
no?
do. I have the sugar over there to do it. Yep. Of course. Of course.
Just asking.
You taught me well.
Because not all scone makers do that.
No, but I do.
But I do too. So.
Somebody suggested you might want to put the baby one in the middle.
No, baby's fine.
Baby's fine.
Baby's fine. Okay, and then I have
thanks for that.
Yeah, but I have a little bit of sugar, and I literally just sprinkle a generous fingerful on each scone. It's hard to see the sugar on the scone. I just kind of go by how it feels when it's leaving my fingertips to know that they're all getting the right amount of sugar.
And you did say 425.
425.
Okay.
Okay. And those are your sourdough scones.
Ready?
And they're going to go in the 425 oven for 14 to 16 minutes. My oven is not, my mom's oven's been calibrated, so I know the time is probably, I would say 14.
I'm going to do 13 and we'll watch
and we'll
them.
check it. Yeah. So that's one of our tips. And I think we've given this tip in the past, but, if you're not sure how your oven is going to do, you can always start with a lower time than what's recommended and add time to it. If you put it in for 14 minutes and they come out overdone, then they're overdone.
You know your oven's too hot.
Yeah.
I mean, because it needs calibration, not because you set the temperature wrong, but you just have a hot oven. So, yeah. And I just always do it on the conservative side.
Yeah, I usually do as well. I just figured your oven is probably better than mine. So I think in my oven, these have taken a little bit longer than what she has, but we'll see how they come out.
All right.
So, okay. So those are going to bake, and now we're going to do a break so that I can wash my hands. We can clean this up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a 5-minute break, and then we'll do the kitchen gadgets.
Come back and talk about the gadgets.
Yeah. So,
okay. See you in a bit.
Yep. And I'll turn the music on in a second. Turn the sign around. You can turn that around.
More focus on the center of the ground.
Okay, we're coming back.
We're back.
We're
That was a
back.
quick cleanup.
Yep, just a quick.
One. Okay. You want me to go ahead?
Oh yeah,
All right.
please. Okay.
Didn't she
I
do
used,
great?
I used all of my brain power. I'm done.
Oh, she did great though.
Thank
And
you.
I know it took a while, and thanks for being patient, but I think all of the steps that she went through, all the background information and the steps she went through was so essential to doing it and doing it well. So thank you, Jen.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Hopefully somebody will make sourdough.
Yeah, and let us know. Let us know what you do.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a lot of the tools of the trade to show you.
We do.
And so we're going to kind of try to go through it quickly. I don't know how much of a process it's going to be, if it's going to be a logical process, but mainly we're going to get across to you some of the tools that we use primarily in our baking for teas.
Yep.
And Jen's going to show you the tools of the trade for the teas in preparing and serving the tea. But I wanted to really show you the tools that I've collected over the years that I've used for baking cookies and muffins and pastry, and that's mainly it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that's
even cakes,
yeah,
any baked,
baked good, because those are kind of the things that I focus on a lot. I do, of course, do savories, but these are tools that are really great for baking.
Yep.
And speaking of baking, two things to start off with. I do want to draw attention to the TFAR Reasons cookbook.
Mm-hmm.
It's available. This is available in the Etsy shop, and this is also available in Jen's online shop. So if you're ordering tea,
you can pick up a cookbook.
Grab a cookbook too. And one of the things I'm going to refer to later is in the cookbook on page 5, and that's the mock Devonshire cream that we'll talk about.
Yep.
Okay. And then the second thing I wanted to tell you about is what I've had hanging around my neck, and I didn't realize how heavy they were going to be. And so I want to get these done first so that I can,
Be careful with your microphone.
so that I can get them off.
Yeah.
But I've been busy sewing, and I think really an apron is one of those essential tools in maybe not essential, but a suggested tool for the kitchen, because it just kind of sets the tone and keeps your clothes clean.
Keeps your clothes clean.
That's the main thing. So, and why not have something pretty and fun on while you're baking?
Exactly.
So the first one I want to show you, and hubby's going to come around. This is,
Did you get stuff on it?
well, I'm just wondering if I got a little flour on it, but I have not. This is brand new. And this is one that does have the tools of the trade on it. And it has the lettering bake and the word bake and blend, gourmet method, and other things. So all of the things I'm showing you are $28. So you can just know that all of the things I'm going to tell you about tonight are $28.
I'm going to hold
Very
it.
loud.
Very loud. And you're going to take them off too.
Okay. So that's the first one. And this is kind of a steel gray, very popular kitchen color right now. So
I like it. And it's got pockets.
And it has pockets. Yes.
I like it.
And so I'm going to remove this one.
Someone just asked, do the aprons have pockets? When
They
went
all
through
have
here,
pockets.
and they have pockets.
Yes. Now this is a Christmas one. And again, kind of a baking theme. So cute. This is on a black background and has cookie cutters and gingerbread men, and just so cute.
Very cute.
So there's that one. Again, with pockets. And then this one, this was a really popular pattern a couple of years ago, and I was so delighted to be able to find more of this fabric. This is definitely a Christmas tea themed apron, also on black, and I call it holly tea. And be aware too that I only have one of each of these, so don't wait. Grab if you want, especially if you're looking for some Christmas gifts. These are great ideas. So this is the holly tea on the black background. I'm feeling lighter already.
Yeah.
And then this one, looking towards fall, this one has the fall leaves, and it's on an off-white, kind of a beige background. You can see the pockets. These are really nice. This is nice fabric, really nice fabric. I'm going to mention also, and I have not mentioned this before, but all of these items, I would suggest you not put them in the washing machine, just because the fabric, some of the fabrics are 100% cotton. The apron is polyester, but the cotton, I don't want it to bunch up and get, distorted. So I would suggest you do spot cleaning on them or hand wash them in cold water. So there's the fall one.
That's it.
And then I have
I'm
something
going to put
else.
this back on you because the
Okay.
camera's about to go off. Right,
Okay. And then I have two more things to show you. And these were really popular a couple of years ago. They're called scarf aprons. And so I have, I think I have two of these available. Let me think. No, I have three of these available. And this has a terry cloth finish at the bottom so that, you've got the pretty design here, but then you can wipe your hands on the terry cloth. So again, I would hand wash. The terry cloth is going to come through just fine, but just protect your patterned fabric. Okay, so there's that one. And I'm calling this one the bake apron scarf. And this is also $28. So if you're looking for the gray apron, that's the bake apron. All right, and one more is this popular one, this one called Sayings or Happiness is Homemade. And again, just a beautiful apron scarf with the terry cloth on the ends. And how many of those do I have? Yeah, I can, I've got two of these. Okay?
I like it. Cute.
Isn't that cute?
Yep.
Okay, and I've got lots more coming in the fall. So, but these are available now. Okay.
Excellent. Okay, so scones came out in 13 minutes in
Hey,
your oven.
how about
so
that?
14 would have been fine, but they were done at 13.
They taste really good.
I gave Molly the baby.
Did you? Oh, they look beautiful.
Yeah. So
Very nice.
yeah, we'll show the finished product at the end, but I did want to let you know. I'm going to take them off of that pan in a couple minutes.
Crunchy outside, fluffy inside. Very, very good.
Which is how they're supposed to be.
Okay. All right. So let's start maybe from left to right and talk about pans. We have mentioned this before that we really prefer the shiny pans. The dark pans tend to make the bottom of your cookies and your scones and other things dark, and you don't want that.
Yep.
So we really prefer the lighter pans. Now, Jen, do you want to explain
Why I brought
why you brought that
my
one?
old pan. So I have 3 of these, and I use these when I'm roasting vegetables and meats. I don't use them for baking because look at them.
Yeah.
But they're perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfectly seasoned.
Perfectly seasoned. Yeah, it's really, amazing. But it's perfect pan for doing vegetables. It's gotten dark on the bottom.
But it started out
shiny like that.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and if I really put some elbow grease into it, but I don't want to because
Yeah.
I like what it does.
Yeah.
But it's a lightweight, it's heavy, but it's a lighter
weight.
Pan, which makes it good for roasting the vegetables, especially when I put it down in the bottom to get them crunchy on the bottom.
Right.
So
what we're saying is if your pans look like this,
you don't want to bake.
you don't want to bake on them. You need to invest in a new pan
If you can afford
If
it.
you can
We
afford
realize
it.
some people can't afford it.
Although Costco had a 2-pack that we bought recently, and it was only like $14 for a 2-pack, and they're quite good pans.
Right.
So, but this one I bought years ago,
Yep.
2 baked scones primarily, and it's a restaurant weight, and yours is very heavy.
Mine's, yeah, I'm going to take these scones off and I'll bring it back over to show.
So a good weight of pan. I don't care for the air. What are they called, Jen?
Yeah, the air pans.
The air pans.
That,
I don't care for those. I prefer a pan like this. And some recipes call for ungreased and others call for parchment lined. I think to be on the safe side, you can use a parchment, and that keeps your pan really clean all the time.
Is that called jelly roll?
No. Jen's
this
size
one, I almost
is the
lost
jelly
a
roll
scone.
size. So she's going to show this is like a cookie
I used that.
or biscuit pan, but this is a jelly roll.
This is a jelly roll pan. This is 11 by 17, I think is the measurement.
11 by 15 maybe.
Something like that. Now I like I'm going to set down I'm going to talk about the parchment paper. This is USA pan. This pan's still hot.
And it's very heavy.
It's very, very heavy, but it's nice for baking scones, biscuits, cookies.
Yeah.
I have a muffin tin made by them that bakes perfection. It's nonstick. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look nonstick because it's the shiny, but it is nonstick. But to keep it clean, I do use parchment. And when I make muffins, I typically use a liner in the muffin pan, but I don't have to. They'll come right out.
Right.
I bought a USA Pan brand sandwich loaf pan. It's called a Pullman.
Right.
For Kevin, my husband makes our sandwich bread and has for almost 20 years. And so I bought him that pan because then the bread would be square, like for sandwiches.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And it comes with a lid. And so it's a 2-part process. He bakes the bread with the lid on. And then after however many minutes, takes the lid off so that the top browns.
Oh, cool.
And it makes a perfectly square loaf.
Very cool.
But it's got the ridges in the bottom.
Very nice.
Yeah. And I have 2 baking sheets like this size, the full size.
So where did you get that one?
I think I got this at Wegmans, but they're on Amazon as well.
All right.
USA Pan.
USA Pan.
Yeah, USA Pan is the brand, and it's distinctive with the ridges in the bottom.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
yeah, my jelly roll is the same as this one, just a smaller size.
And then I wanted to talk about parchment.
Okay.
So parchment, it comes on a roll usually, and it's a pain in the butt because I'm sorry, I said
it's all right.
It's fine. It's a pain in the rear end because it's rolled. What? So here's the tip. I typically crunch it up, and it works perfectly fine, and then it's going to stay in your pan. I've seen people give a tip where you put water in the bottom of the pan.
Jamie Oliver does that.
And stick the parchment down. No. You don't necessarily want that water in your pan.
No, not with baking,
Depending
but he
on
does
what
it like with meatloaf.
Yeah, with meat or whatever, that's fine. But even if I'm roasting vegetables, now I don't use parchment when I roast vegetables. I want them on that pan.
Oh, we do.
But no.
Because he doesn't like cleaning the pan.
I mean, whatever. I need to cough, so I'm going to mute my microphone. My throat is dry. Anyway, my tip is crunch up the paper. It's really loud in the microphone. And then
it doesn't help when you talk extra loud because then it sounds weird on your microphone.
Okay, I'll just talk like normal. Anyway,
and also crunching it right here in front of it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, and now you can see it's straight. It's not going to roll back up, and it works perfectly fine. It does. And then other tips that I've seen is if you have a loaf pan and you're going to use parchment, flip your loaf pan over, put this over, and then do folds, and then you can put it inside your loaf, and it's nice, and you don't end up with weird corners.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
And when you're baking cookies, you can reuse this. Mm-hmm. So the tip on using parchment paper for cookies is you're going to see the spots whereas the butter or the Crisco, whatever your fat is in your cookies, is going to leave spots on the parchment. You can continue to use your parchment until it's completely saturated.
Cool.
It'll turn brown, and that's totally fine. But until it's completely saturated with the little circles of fat in it, you can continue to use it at your
Now
discretion.
that's talking about being
And that's being economical.
Economical.
Like
Yeah.
you can reuse this.
Yeah.
So you put the second round of cookies where the spots aren't.
You can,
You
or you
can,
can put them
or
in the
the
same
same.
spot. But the guy that I saw do it was moving the cookies around until he had, like, his parchment was not even the same color. It wasn't white anymore. It was brown and greased, like, it looked like greasy brown paper.
Wow.
Because he had used it for 6 or 8 different batches of cookies.
Yeah, I have reused mine for sure. I just leave it on the pan and
Yeah, so
I
I'm
might,
gonna leave this for you. You
Okay.
can use it.
all right.
Or I'll take it.
Okay,
anyway.
so now since we're on the subject of lining your pan, another liner you can use is Silpat. And I haven't used these in a while, but they work great. And you just put that on your cookie sheet. And you can put the cookies right on the Silpat. You don't have to grease it or anything, or your scones, and you're good to go.
You can even use that on your counter to roll out. You still need flour,
Yeah,
but you can use it as a surface on your counter to roll out pie dough.
right.
or
Use the
cookie
smooth
dough.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want the Silpat wording on the top.
Yeah. So these are great. And then you just put them in soapy water to wash them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
just
that's
kind
it.
of rinse them off.
Yeah.
They do get very hot. It is silicone.
Yeah.
So just know you cannot touch it with your bare hands when you take your stuff out of the oven or you'll get burned.
Yeah.
For sure. And I have silicone. I don't use them much because they don't work great because they don't hold their shape. But I do have a silicone muffin pan and we use it. We have a silicone muffin pan and I think I have a silicone bundt pan.
Yeah. I have the silicone,
Yeah.
little things like that.
So you can use those.
Yeah.
I don't recommend them for cake, like a layer cake.
Right.
Because it doesn't, for a layer cake, you want your layers to be in a structured pan.
Yeah.
Because when you take it out of the oven, it's floppy and flexible.
And when you're trying to take it out,
you don't want to
your
break
cake
the
may
cake.
break.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't recommend that, but
All right. So, lining, we talked about the Silpat. Now here's another suggestion. This is for a loaf pan. I love these so much because I hate greasing and flouring a loaf pan. So what I do now on my loaf pans is I just use a spray, and then for the smaller ones I put in one of these liners, and then for the large one I put in one of these liners, and it's awesome. That's such a time saver and a cleanup saver. So those, and you can get these on Amazon.
Yep.
They didn't used to have them. I actually brought these back from England a number of years ago, but they have them on Amazon now. And then remember a few months ago, maybe last summer, we made madeleines. And
I think it was in the spring.
was it in the spring? Yeah, it was. The orange
Orange.
ones. Yeah. So these are the 2 madeleine pans that I have. This one I've had for quite a few years. And this one is the one I most recently bought. I kind of resisted buying it because it's the darker. But as it turned out, and this one needs more careful greasing and flouring than this one did, but they actually both came out really well. And this one I would say maybe browned up a little bit more around the edges, but it did just fine. So this one definitely is on Amazon, and it's called Chicago Metallic. And then this one, I was not able to find another one. Otherwise I would have had 2 alike. So can I hand you that?
Yep.
All right. And then I am all about the muffins. I love making muffins, and I had pretty much worn out my muffin tins. So I invested in 2 of these, and this is a real heavy muffin pan from Williams-Sonoma. And I had bought one and tested it out and decided I liked it so much, so I bought 2. And I am not one to use the cupcake liners. I just prefer to have my muffins come straight out of the pan. Now, if I were doing cupcakes, yes, I would. But for muffins, I don't. And so they just work beautifully just with a little bit of spray. And they're nice and heavy duty. They don't come out with too brown of a bottom at all. So I do recommend these pans. But just make sure, again, that they're not a dark metal. Because then your muffins are really going to come out too dark.
Dark and crusty.
Dark and crusty.
You want soft muffins.
Yeah. The tops can be a little bit crusty,
Yeah,
but
but you want the bottom of the muffin to be soft.
you want soft bottoms.
Soft bottoms. Not soggy bottoms.
No, it's soft bottoms.
Soft.
And the other thing I love about this is it's a nice, generous muffin.
Right.
If a recipe says that it makes 12, this would probably make 10.
Right.
That's what I'm finding.
Because
So,
it is a larger cup.
yeah, it is. Okay. Now I'm going to show you,
This.
I'm going to show you another unusual pan. And I've only used it in a couple of times, but this is for making Victoria cream cake minis. And I did these for a couple of occasions. One was an open house that we had that had kind of a French theme. And was that right? No, it would have been an English theme. Anyway, but
They're upright.
yeah,
Yeah, not like a regular muffin pan.
no.
Yeah, I'm talking about the sides.
The sides, yeah. These are straight up and down, and they have a little disc that goes in the bottom and makes it really easy to get them out.
Yeah.
And so you bake, I think I've got a recipe on the Facebook page for these little mini Victorian sponge cakes. But when they come out nice and tall, and you cut them in half across and fill them with the jam and the cream. And they were,
Right.
You remember those?
I do.
Yeah, they were awesome. So that's another pan. And I did get it on Amazon. So
Yeah, we should be Amazon affiliates,
I know.
but we're not.
No, we talked about it briefly.
You take the bottom out of that one.
No.
She'll have to get it.
Okay. And then
I'll
one last pan, I think. And it's not really a pan per se, but it is called, a shortbread mold. And I've had this for, golly, many, many years. Hubby and I bought this in Scotland to give to my mother. And when she passed away, I got it back. And you make shortbread in this. You put your shortbread in here and bake it, and then you turn it upside down and bring it out. And it just makes the most beautiful shortbread. And you can find these elsewhere. You don't have to go to Scotland to find them. But it used to be back then. That was
The only place.
the
Yeah.
only place you couldn't find them. I think they may have some metal somewhere,
Maybe.
but the wood is the most authentic for making shortbread. So just wanted to show you that. Okay, how are we doing on time?
It's almost 8:30.
Almost 8:30.
8:20.
All right, we're going to move on. And so now, in the vein of talking about muffins, one of my tools that's an essential for me when I do muffins is the ice cream scoop. And I love using this because I just am able to get the exact amount for each muffin into the pan. And so I have three different sizes. This one's actually for a larger muffin.
Yeah, the jumbo
The
muffins.
jumbo muffin pan. You really want to fill it full. And then this is the one I usually use. This is the one, these two, I actually have another one that's a smaller one than this, but I use these the most making cookies.
Right.
If I'm doing a cowboy cookie, I probably use that one or the next one up. This is probably the one I use with cookies the most. I got all of these at Pampered Chef, but you can find them online.
You can find them anywhere.
Yeah, you can find them there. All right. Speaking of muffins, this was something that I got for my birthday from Jen. And what is it? It's a Swedish
dough.
Swedish dough.
Something or other. Does it say it on there? No.
No. But and something I'm going to demonstrate for you maybe this fall is the pumpkin muffins that I make every single year. And I've been doing it for like 35 years. This is the perfect tool for a really, hearty dough that you're trying to work with without using too much brute strength behind it. And, so this is a wonderful tool, and that is on Amazon. It's called a Swedish.
I think it's a Swedish dough hook.
Whisk.
Dough
Maybe
whisk. Maybe whisk.
Swedish dough whisk, and it's wonderful. And so I think that's all I wanted to show in regards to muffins. So let's talk about pastry a little bit. When I make pastry, of course, we've talked about this before, cutting in. Yeah. And so this is a handy tool to have to cut in your butter into your flour for your pastry. Or more often than that, I use a food processor.
Yeah, you can grate it.
Or you can grate it like Jen was showing you today. Yeah. And then to roll out. Now, this rolling pin was my mother's. And so I've had it for the almost 57 years we've been married. No, I would have inherited it 35 years ago.
Right.
But I like it because it's not a stationary roll. It rolls like that. And I love that action. Now this one is more of a French, rolling pin. And to me, it's harder to use because you're really using this action when you're rolling. It's perfectly fine. And it's actually great if you're doing a really large circle.
Yeah, cinnamon rolls.
Cinnamon rolls. Yeah, I think Kevin uses it. Yeah, so this is a great one too. Not a weapon. And then when you're cutting out for your pastry, you've got some options. And what I usually do is, I cut out according to the size of tart or something I'm making. If I'm making a lemon tart or something, I know that I usually use something really large like this. I have another muffin tin that is smaller than the one I showed you, but this needs to fit over the circle of the muffin area with plenty on the outside so that when you push it down into the muffin tin, you're still going to have enough on the around the sides. And so speaking of that, this was also a tool I got from Pampered Chef, and I think you can find it online as well. I think it's just a pastry tapper. I think that's what it's called, a pastry tapper. This is perfect for the muffin size tapping, and this one is designed for more of a tart, more of a small tart like that. So this is a great tool. All right, and then if you don't want to use the muffin tins, you can use the tart pans like these. A little more work, but they come out great. So usually these come in a set of 12. Okay, now let's talk about, should we talk about scone? Oh, wait a minute. We're still talking about cookies. This is a set of cookie cutters that you can use, something like that, to make really cute for your tea. You can use any kind of shape, heart shapes or whatever. And then moving on to scones, the same principle with rolling out or pressing the dough that Jen did. You can use, and it's important to have, as opposed to a lot of the cookie cutters that you'll find are not very deep.
Yeah.
So you need to find something that's deep enough to do a really good cut on your scones like that, or for a biscuit. That's a good one. This is a good one, the size, but I don't like it because if you press too hard on it, it bends. So I keep it, I don't know why, but make sure you've got good quality. And I love these again because I have so many size options. If I'm just doing little mini scones, I can use the mini. All right.
And then you got the square ones.
And then the square ones. Now I will say, going back to the shortbread, if you're doing shortbread, that you're rolling it out and maybe it comes out to a square or a rectangle on your baking sheet. Then when it's cooked, when it's baked and you take it out of the oven, when it's still hot, you can actually cut into and make the shape that you would have for the shortbread, shortbread
like
fingers. Yeah, or that size. Or you can do this and cut them across if you want, or like that. So these are handy little cutters as well. What else would you use those for?
I would use them for scones.
Yeah, you could
have square scones or biscuits.
Yeah, you could. Or again, if you don't want to form triangles, you could cut that
Mm-hmm.
like that.
You know what you could use this for too? Cutting crust off of bread.
Yes.
And then you won't have the straight edge, but you have the nice fluted edge.
Yes.
You could take your bread and
absolutely.
cut the crust off for your tea sandwiches.
Yep. Perfect. Love that. Or even that.
Right.
You do two side by
Right.
side. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Now, some other tools that, you may be familiar with, you may have seen me use.
I use that.
Yeah, I love having a flour dispenser for my pastry board. And this is an old vintage one from the 50s. But just something fun, to have. A good timer. A lot of people use their phone these days. I tend to use the timer on my stove, but you can use a timer like that, especially if you're doing a couple of things at one time. Good measuring spoons are always an essential. And we'll get to the whisks in a minute. Yeah, remember I talked a while back about how important we felt it was to have a really sharp edge for taking cookies off of your cookie pan. Well, I found one finally, and it's called Fat Daddy-O's, but this was on Amazon, and it's nice and sharp. It doesn't take off large cookies, but large enough, and so I like that one a lot. All right, now these are good tools for when you're doing frosting on a cake,
Pick it up.
or you're buttering bread that's going into your broiler, or what else do you use it for, Jen?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Mostly for frosting a cake.
It's not really a sharp edge here, so you can't really use it for cutting.
No.
You're not going to get a nice.
It's designed for spreading.
For spreading. You see them, if you see cake decorating videos, very often they have it's called an offset spatula.
Yeah.
Very often they're using an offset spatula to do that spreading of the frosting.
Yeah, yeah. So they're very.
Yeah, you can use it to spread the cinnamon butter
Yeah.
onto the dough before you roll it up for cinnamon rolls.
Yeah. So those are online as well. I'm sure you saw Jen using a whisk that she used to mix up the ingredients for the scones. This one is awesome because it's little. If you just have a little bit of ingredients in a bowl, if you're mixing up a dressing or something like that. And this was from Pampered Chef, but I think that one's online as well. And then this is my favorite whisk. And the reason why it's my favorite is because when I'm making a custard, like in a double boiler, and let's say the ingredients start out with maybe cornstarch and sugar or something like that, or salt. You're whisking that first and you're adding your liquid. I like this because you really can get into the edges.
Yeah, the
corners. It's just easier to get in there than the other that has the wider end to it. The bowl. This one is fabulous. So if you were to buy any whisk, I would say this, because this is just great for any use for a whisk.
Yeah. Let me say something about whisks.
Yeah.
This is metal, and you can use the metal on metal. And I mean bare metal, not nonstick. Don't use the metal on your nonstick. It's going to damage your nonstick coating on your nonstick pans.
Yeah.
They make silicone coated whisks. Now, I've never seen one silicone like this. But,
no, I don't think I have.
But they do make silicone coated whisks that are perfect for, this bothers me, for nonstick, my OCD, for nonstick pans, and it will protect your nonstick pan from getting all scratched up.
Right. Yeah.
I have two sets of whisks.
Okay.
I have regular whisk and the silicone whisks.
Okay.
Because I'm very protective of my
I agree.
nonstick.
Yeah. All right. Good kitchen shears and essential.
Yeah, we have two pairs, small pair and a large pair.
I have 3.
Yep.
Okay. Now this is a fun tool, and go ahead.
You can use these for literally everything.
Yeah.
You can cut meat, you can cut cheese, you can cut string, you can cut parchment paper,
you can cut quesadillas,
you can cut anything.
Yeah.
With your kitchen shears, as long as you take really good care of them.
Yeah.
This one looks like it has a bottle opener.
Yeah, it does.
In it.
Yeah.
So look at your if you have kitchen shears, you may have a bottle opener
You
built in.
may, yeah, and they're dishwasher safe. Just I usually
throw
open
in
them
the
up,
dishwasher. Yep.
and yeah, they're great. Okay, now we want to talk a little bit about doing your orange or your lemon zest or your lime zest. This is what I started out with.
Yep.
And my hand won't allow this to be done anymore. And I was going to get a lemon for you, but you would start at the top and you would go down like this, and it takes a lot of pressure. But the advantage to this one is you get the long strips.
And also, this one will get you the fatter strips of rind off of the citrus.
So this is a useful tool.
Yeah.
This is the one I use the most for doing orange or lemon zest. And you just run it along your lemon. You want to make sure you don't get down to the white part, which is bitter. The pith. And just, you can get like a good tablespoon of zest from one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can get quite a bit.
Yeah.
And what's great is it collects in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you've got all your zest, you just run your finger down. It's not sharp in here at all.
Just run your
sharp
finger
on this side, but you just run your finger down and get it, and you can get it out of the little crevices inside, and it all comes right.
So this, along with this, essentials,
good tools,
really good tools.
Good tools.
Okay. This is for the rest of the lemon or the orange. When you want to get the juice out of it, you just cut your fruit in half and you do that. This is the old fashioned way, but I kind of like it.
Another way to do it is with a fork.
Yeah.
You hold the half of the lemon in your hand and get a fork and squeeze it and turn. Mm-hmm. So you squeeze the lemon over your bowl, squeeze the lemon, turn the fork, and it'll break up that pulp that's inside the lemon and get more of the juice out.
Yeah. Yeah. So you need a good lemon juicer of some kind. Okay. And then this is a great pastry brush. It is silicone. It goes in your dishwasher. For years, I used the regular type of brush.
Like
and Jen,
the one
she was, and the brush is great, but I wouldn't put it in the dishwasher, because it just kind of flays out like that. So you want to hand wash that. And sometimes I've even put a rubber band around it to try to train it to go back. But these are awesome. Yeah. I have this small one and I have a longer one for basting meat or whatever. Yeah. So this is another essential. Yeah. I'm kind of picky about my spatulas. I don't like them when they're really hard and rigid. I like to be able to get into the round corners of the mixer and whatever. So I like some flexibility on the end. This is my favorite one because this is really good. And that's the one I go to all the time. But this is called a spoonula. And I don't even know if they make them anymore. I hope they do because mine is looking sad. But a spoonula is great because it's not as big. And, so like a smaller quantity, spoonula. Mm-hmm. And then this little tool.
That's my favorite tool.
This is my favorite new tool. Jen gave this to me because I was having trouble opening jars. Yep. And I don't want to open a brand new jar, but you just put it on the edge of the jar and lift up, and the pop.
It breaks the vacuum.
It breaks the vacuum, and then your jar comes open. So this.
And I found that on Amazon. Just look for jar opener.
Yeah.
And it looks like a funky key thing.
It is awesome.
It's the best.
Okay, and the other thing, we have mentioned these before.
Yeah, we showed these when we did the
cherry
pitters.
This, I don't know where it's been all my life. Being able to do the cherries, doing 6 at a time, that just saved me so much time this season. Now, this is the old-fashioned one that does 1, but this is the deal.
Yep.
All right.
Show that, and I'll show this.
And then this one. This is a tool that we've had for many, many years. It's a whipped cream dispenser. You put your heavy whipping cream as a liquid into this, and I usually have hubby do this for me. And we usually add some vanilla, a little bit of confectioner's sugar, and then we close it up. And then what you do is you want to explain it?
Nitrous oxide.
Yeah, so what you do is you put the cream in, you put the little bit of sugar in, you put the vanilla, and you mix it up with the little whisk, if you can, or you just put the lid on like that and shake it up until it's you think that the sugar's dissolved in the cream.
Yeah.
And then what you do is you get
these nitrous oxide.
and get nitrous oxide, not carbon dioxide, because carbon dioxide adds a bitter soda.
It's a soda.
So you want to use a nitrogen oxide bottle. Goes in the little
Goes in
there,
here.
and you just
screw that on.
in. And
until you hear it release, and it will release all of a sudden when it breaks through.
Yeah.
And now your bottle is charged. Now all you need to do is shake it up a little bit
and dispense your whipped
point it where you
cream.
want it, and dispense whipped cream.
and you've got your Ready Whip.
You've got your Ready Whip, your own Ready Whip.
Ready Whip.
And we do this every Christmas so that we have it on hand in the refrigerator, and the kids can go in and get their own whipped cream. And it's just wonderful.
And if you're on a keto diet, and since cream is fine on a keto diet, you can make a dessert by putting a tablespoon of cocoa powder in the cream with the vanilla and a tiny little bit of sugar just to take the edge off.
Oh, I think we've used
and you make chocolate whipped cream.
Yeah.
And that's
Stevia or
on a
something.
keto
Stevia,
diet.
yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So then I'm going to lay this down.
Okay.
And I'm going to move this up here. And then I brought some, so she focused on baking. I brought a few other tools, just kitchen gadgets that I thought would be fun to see. So we had a freezer mishap in July, whenever that was. It was July. And we bought half of a pig. And with our freezer mishap, all of the ground pork thawed. It thawed. And it was about over 20 pounds. And so I needed to cook it. And so partly what I was doing was just cooking it to put in bags and refreeze. And my little wooden spoon wasn't chopping up the pork enough. And so I asked my husband to buy one of these meat choppers. It's hard, but it's not going to scratch up your nonstick. And this thing worked like a champ because it's got the 3 hard edges and it really chops up that ground meat in your pan. And so I highly recommend.
Yeah, if you're doing a big bowl of chili or something.
And you're cooking a lot of ground beef or pork or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a great tool. This one's by OXO, but there are a bunch of different fine types you can find. I think my husband bought this at Target. Because he was out and I was literally cooking pork. I texted him, go buy this, please. And he did. And then this funky looking gadget is a pot stirrer. And I got this for Christmas, I think from my brother-in-law, my sister's husband. It's battery operated. And the battery thing comes out for cleaning. So you really only need to clean this and then maybe wipe this. You don't want this to get wet because it's got the batteries in it. But you put it in your pot and it's a nice plastic. It's not going to mess up any nonstick pans. And you just put it in your pan. Here, I'm going to turn it on. And it's got 3 settings. And you just turn it on and it stirs your sauce or whatever you've got, gravy, whatever is in your pot. And so that was one setting, and this one's a little more vigorous. We like this one because it turns, like it switches direction. And then this one is faster than the first one. It doesn't turn as often, and then off.
That's awesome.
It's fantastic. Yeah. You need one.
I do.
You do need one.
Thank you.
Yes. And then I use this on a daily basis. This is an immersion blender. And I had an old one, I think it was a Braun, and it had a plastic casing and it broke. And because I use it every day, it was oozing this black stuff. I don't even know. So I threw it away and I bought this one. I found it on Amazon. I think it was 30 or 40, between 30 and 40. I wouldn't spend more than $40 on something like this. This one actually I should have brought the other accessories. The blender comes off and it has 2 other pieces that go with it. And I don't know what they are because I immediately put them away because I just use this. I'm sure at some point I might get curious when I'm cooking and be like, what does this have that maybe I can use? I honestly don't remember.
So what do you use it for?
I do bulletproof coffee.
Okay.
Which means I add butter to my coffee and trust me, it's delicious. But you want to emulsify the butter into the coffee or you're just going to have an oil slick on top of your coffee. And so I put the butter in, and then I use this to blend it. I plug it in, and then it blends it, and it makes it foamy. It ends up with a nice foam on top, almost like a latte, but it's not really.
It's also very loud.
I know.
I use mine for creamy cauliflower.
Yeah. So I use it every day doing my coffee. And my 4-cup measure, that is how I do it.
Okay.
I pour my coffee into the 4-cup measure and put the butter in, and then I blend it.
Okay.
But you can use it to make soup. So you've cooked all your vegetables and they're chunky, but you don't want chunky. You want a pureed soup, like your cream of cauliflower, cream of potato, split pea.
Yeah.
Any soup that you want creamy. You can use your immersion blender.
It
has two speeds. This one has 2 speeds. I like this one because it's a stainless. Yeah. The bowl and the blade, and then I also like this. This can go in the dishwasher.
That's awesome.
This piece. Yeah. This can't. Yeah. This can. Yeah. But I hand wash this. I actually just rinse it most times.
That's what I do with mine. Yeah. Okay. All right.
But I love my hand blender. And then I was going to talk about knives real quick.
Okay. Yeah, because we're late tonight.
We are late tonight. Okay, knives. So, and this will finish up the kitchen tools. So the first thing I learned in culinary school is that you really only need 2 knives in your kitchen. You don't need a whole big set of knives to be able to function in your kitchen and do what you need to do. You really only need 2 basic knives. You want to make sure they're good quality because they're going to do the work. One is a paring knife. You want a really good paring knife, and that is this size. Typically, it has a 6 or a 7-inch blade. You want it to have a nice sturdy handle because you're going to use this for the small work. And I can't describe what the small work is, but
for me, it's like peeling peaches.
Yeah, peeling fruit. You can use it for peeling fruit.
Yeah.
But you're going to use it for the small,
or just slicing a banana or something.
Sometimes I'll use that when we have rotisserie chicken.
Yeah, cutting off. Yeah, you can debone a chicken using your paring knife because it's small and it gets into the small places. In culinary school, they made us peel all of our vegetables with a paring knife first.
Okay,
so that we got competent in using. And you want to get your finger and your thumb up on the blade. If you're doing that kind of work so that it's steady in your hand. Like for me, I'm putting my middle finger where the bend is in the handle right here. And then I'm putting my finger here and my thumb on the other side. And I've got a really good grip on that knife. It's not coming out of my hand. And then I can peel that potato, the apple, the orange, whatever, the peaches, whatever it is, because I've got a nice sturdy grip on the knife. Yeah. And then the second is a good chef knife. Now this is a well-used.
It is.
This is a well-used chef knife right here. Typically your chef knife is going to have anywhere from an 8 to 10-inch blade. Some of them are bigger. Again, when you're using it, you want to bring your hand up close to the blade. You don't want to be back here. You want to have a good grip on it. But in school they taught us, put your fingers up here so that they're touching the blade. You're not going to get cut. This one you might because of the way this one is made, but typically you've got some clearance here where you can put your fingers on the blade itself and it makes it much more sturdy in your hand when you're chopping your vegetables, cutting your meat, whatever it is you're using it for.
Yeah. Very good.
Paring knife, chef knife. And any brand will work. You just want to make sure that it's a heavy duty and sharp. Well, and to keep it sharp, a steel, this is called a steel. It typically has, when you feel it, it's got rough edges. It doesn't sharpen your knife. You need a sharpener, typically stone, to sharpen your knife. What this does is it hones the blade. So as you use your knife on your surface, it's creating little curls, and they're microscopic. But every time you press down on your knife here, it's creating a little bit of a blunt curl on your blade, and you can hone that by running it along the rough side. The whole thing is rough, but running it along the side of the steel, it takes those, it smooths it back out, and it helps to keep your knife sharp. It'll keep your knife sharper longer if you use your steel after every use.
Okay.
Do I do that? No. And then another good knife to have is a good bread knife. You want a good serrated knife, a good bread knife like this, and typically it's going to have that round edge on it. This is a nice Henkel's. Again, see, it's got the for your fingers. Bread knife, I don't recommend putting your fingers on the blade. It's not made for that. It's wider in here.
And it's not made to put your bagel in the hand and
No, never
do that.
Do I cut my bagels that way most of the time? No, I actually put it on the counter and I cut it like this. They actually recommend.
My stuff that way.
Yeah,
Yes, and
yeah.
then I'll go halfway and then I'll flip it over.
Do as we say.
No, bagels should go flat on the counter and you cut them like
Across.
this.
Yeah.
Unless you have a bagel cutter and then use your bagel cutter.
Yeah.
But this is great for bread. You can use this for cake. Any kind of bread product wants a serrated knife. And so a good bread knife is handy. But you can cut your bread with a chef knife.
You can, if it's sharp. Nice and
as
sharp.
long as it's sharp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's 50 minutes.
I know.
I told you we were going to run late, but we'll try to do the
hang with us.
tea demo fast. We had a lot to show.
We did. Okay.
No questions
So I
on
think-
that?
Nope.
I think we'll take just a 5-minute
You're
break.
very clear.
I mean, we got to
No,
clear
no,
all this
yeah,
stuff.
we'll do it. 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. We'll
Yeah.
do at minimum 5-minute break. If it goes longer, it's because we're still setting up.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Okay.
All right. See you in a bit.
I'm going to mute you. Hello, we're back. I'm grabbing my phone to stop the music. Okay. Okay, thanks for hanging with us. Let me get my microphone on, and then we can start the actual tea demo portion of Tea for All Reasons. Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you. There you go. Now she's on. Okay, before I do the actual tea demo, I wanted to show you two things that I have that I can recommend because I use them. One is this travel tea mug, and it's made, I got it from Adagio. And what's great is it comes with a little basket that you can put your tea in. It's stainless on the inside. It keeps your tea warm. It's got the little basket you can put the tea in. So you put your tea leaves in the basket and screw it back into the lid. And then you pour your water in and you can turn this. Now, if your water's not up enough, it's not going to steep the leaves that are in the basket. The basket only goes to about right here. So you can turn it upside down to let it steep for a while. And then once it's been, depending on your tea, you flip it back over. I like to actually take the basket out before I drink my tea. Like if I'm in a hotel room, I steep it, and then I like to empty the basket and get that tea out of there before I start drinking it. You can flip the lid open, and you've got a little spout here. It really does a good job of making sure you don't get any of the leaves. Where I think it fails a little bit is rooibos, because the rooibos will come through. The holes in the spout are just big enough that rooibos might get through. That's why I like to take the basket out, empty it, I rinse it. Sometimes I'll just put it on the counter and let it dry until I use it the next day, and then I put my lid back on, and I've got my tea, and I'm ready to go. You can put the basket back on empty, and your tea's going to come through with no problem. I just prefer to let it dry. And it's great. I've never had it leak. It keeps my tea hot for hours, and it works really well. It's small enough, it fits in my suitcase. I've even put it in the cup holder, the cup thingy on my backpack, to go through the airport if I didn't want to put it in my suitcase. And it works great. And so someone asked, who is it by? It's from Adagio Tea, online. And they have some others, and that I've bought, but this is the one that I recommend. The others worked fine. One was glass. It leaked a little bit. And I was worried that if I dropped it, the glass would break. This one is fantastic. I've never had a problem with it. And like I said, it never leaks. At least mine has never leaked, and it's been great. So I do recommend that.
Take it empty through the airport. Take it empty through the
Yeah,
airport.
you got to take it empty until you get on the airplane, and then you're good to go. And then this fabulous thing is someone in the group, I think, posted the link to this.
Okay.
And I immediately bought one to test it. And I think I've done a mini live at my house using this in my office. But this is a portable kettle, and it's amazing. And it comes in a little bag. And I have traveled with it. It fits in my suitcase, and I've used it in a hotel room. Works like a champ. I actually used it to do tea and coffee in my hotel room, because the way the coffee was, it was tea bag. It was coffee bags, which I love, by the way. Coffee bags are the way to go if you're traveling and you want coffee. You can throw them in your suitcase, and you got coffee wherever you want.
Right.
We found them in England, and they
we did.
life altering. In America, Folgers makes them.
Okay.
Yeah, I found them at Wegmans, actually. Anyway, so what's great is it's silicone, and it is collapsible.
Look at that.
And so it's got this little hole here. The handle comes up, and it will hold the pot sturdy.
That is just
You
so
plug
cute.
it in, you pour your water in, put the lid on, and then just turn it on, and you got hot water.
That is amazing.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
And it'll work on UK voltage.
And this says it will work on 110 and 220 voltage. And so maybe you can take it with you and you can test it out.
Yeah.
Although we were saying in the UK, there's never a shortage of kettles in the UK. So only in America.
Every place we've stayed has had a kettle.
Yeah. Yeah. Only in America is it a struggle to find a kettle somewhere. Anyway, and so those are the two products that I don't sell, but that I recommend. And I found that on Amazon.
Who's that by?
I have no idea. It doesn't have a T. Magitic. T. Magitic. It looks like almost Magitic.
Yeah, T Magitic.
Okay. Yeah. But there are other brands. You know, it's like Amazon. They got whatever. It's probably made in China, but it works.
Yeah.
So, okay.
All right.
All right. And now I'm going to demonstrate. Let me show some things, and then I'm going to demonstrate the tea makers. I show these every once in a while, but I'm going to actually use them so that you can see how they work, because I love them. And then this is new, the infuser spoon. I'm going to demonstrate this as well. And I'm going to demonstrate the collapsible infuser cup. And that's it. So, okay. So I wanted to show a couple things. These are necessities. These are tea clips, and I have these. These are acorns. I have these to go with tea sacks. They're great for if you have tea bags that don't have string. You can attach these. It keeps your tea bag from falling too far into the mug, even if it does have a string. Tea sacks, it will help keep it closed so that the tea doesn't go into your water, and also keeps it from falling into the mug to where you can't get it out. So these are just a couple of examples of tea clips that I have in the shop. There are a bunch of others. Those are glass acorns, and those acorn tops are from real acorns. And then I have these tea wallets, and I've shown these before. I brought a couple to share, music notes and the floral. But these are great if you are traveling and you want to take some tea in tea sacks, or you have tea bags. There are 6 slots where you can put your tea bags or your tea sacks in there. And then it snaps closed and it works in your purse, backpack, whatever it is. And they're a great handy little tool if you're traveling. And then I do make some beaded tea infusers. I haven't made new ones in a while, but these are some examples. So this is a 1-cup ball infuser to use to make your tea. The addition helps to keep the chain from falling into your mug, and it's pretty. And so these are just a couple of examples that I've made and have available in the shop. This one has the pink ribbon. I made this one for breast cancer awareness. It's got the crystal heart and then the pink ribbon. And then I do sell tea infusers without the embellishment. I do have the 1 cup, and this is a pot size tea infuser. You put your tea in 1/2, leave the other half open, because when it gets wet, it's going to expand. And so this is the pot size infuser. And then I have the pyramid shape as well. And then the pincer infuser ball that works well in a mug. I have this style, and I've demonstrated this one. That's why it's stained. And then I have this new spoon version that I'm going to demonstrate tonight. And then strainers. So if you're making tea in a pot, you put your strainer over your cup to pour so that you don't get the leaves in your cup. I've shown these before. I've demonstrated. This is the Empress version. It has a little cup, and then this is just a casual little one. It's got a teapot on the top. And before I do the demonstration, I have a timer. It has 3 different timers on it: black tea, green tea, and herbal. I think it's green and oolong, and then herbals. That's available in the shop. And then I have 4 different infuser cups available in the shop. This is the Paris cup. It's just a basic. It's great for every day. It fits nicely over your mug. Most mugs, it fits pretty well over, except maybe a wider, you're going to struggle. I've shown this one. I'm not going to demonstrate this one. I'm going to demonstrate the collapsible one. It's great for travel. And then there's this one that has the finer mesh and a deeper cup, and it has a lid, and it also works as a tray. And then this one is similar to that one, also has the deeper cup. It's got a handle. It's got a silicone lid that also works as a tray. Okay. Tea bag squeezer. We use this every time because I use the tea sacks. Yeah. Tea sack 1, tea sack 2, but then also tea sack 2 is also in this packaging. It's the same thing. It's just different packaging. And then the tea sack 3, which is for pots. And the spoons. Spoon is essential.
Essential.
The perfect pot of tea spoon, and you can see it's a much bigger bowl than the perfect cup of tea. This will do a 3 or 4 cup pot. And so if you have a 6 cup pot, you want to use 2. And larger, you go up from there. And this one's yours. And then the perfect cup of teaspoon. And one of these does 5-6 ounces of liquid tea. And you can go up from there as you need. So the water's hot. I heard it bubbling. And I'm going to demonstrate 4 different teas. The first one's Orange Grove Vanilla. I'll give you a quick look. Orange Grove Vanilla. So herbal. Good. It's an herbal. Yeah, it's full of fruit. I'm going to do a pretty generous spoon. I'm going to put it in let's see how this fits in here. And like I said, you only do half because it's going to expand in the spoon. And I'm going to close that up, make sure I've got a good seal, and I'm going to put it in this clear mug so you can see it steep. So that's the Orange Grove Vanilla. And then I'll do butterscotch brew in this infuser cup. This is a black tea. And it's got the cute little balls because it's part of the magical Wonderkind. I'm trying to remember what I renamed it. You know that book about the kid wizards? That.
With the lightning bolt?
With the lightning bolt, yep.
Whose name shall be nameless.
Yes, he is nameless, the boy who lived.
Yeah.
Anyway, butterscotch brew. And so I'm only going to do, well, I'll do 2 spoons of that in the infuser because it's a larger mug and I want to make sure the water gets it. Okay, orange grove vanilla. Okay. And I'll pour the water on that in just a second. And then I'm going to do lemon drop and Angel's Falls Mist in here. So lemon drop is a green tea, also from the magical Wonderkind. So this is the 16 ounce, almost 17 ounce tea maker. And this is the box that it comes in. And I love this. I use this one. It comes with a little drip tray to set it on. You put your tea directly in the cup and then you pour the water in over it, close the lid, let it steep, and then you put it over your mug to decant. So I'm going to do the lemon drop in this one and we'll just do 1 scoop. And then I'll do Angel's Fall Mist in the larger one. This one is 18.5 ounces, which is amazing. So much tea. And so Angel Falls Mist is an herbal. I'm going to do 2 because they're big, chunky.
Yeah, and this makes a beautiful color tea.
Yeah. And so this is green tea and this is herbal. So I'm going to put the water on the herbal first because it steeps longer. And I'm not doing all the way to the top because the mugs I'm going to pour it into are not that big. And then this is the Orange Grove Vanilla. And then the Butterscotch Brew. I can smell that one. And then the Lemon Drop Green.
Yeah.
And I only did, that's about right.
Yeah.
That's probably too much. Okay, so the lemon drop only steeps for a couple minutes, and then the black, and then we'll get the herbals. And you can already see the color from the Orange Grove vanilla, and this is why I like these mugs.
Yeah, they really show off the color.
They show off the color.
Yeah.
Orange Grove vanilla and the butterscotch brew. And did you put a timer on? Okay, you're the best. And then the lemon drop. And I really, Kevin uses this size and I use this size and, they're great.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way
it is
to make tea. You don't need I love the tea sacks. They're great for travel and I do take those when I travel. But this for every day, if you drink tea every day, I cannot recommend one of these higher because it just makes it so easy.
I think this was one of the very first herbals that I ordered when I placed my very first wholesale order. It was recommended to me and it was so cute because our oldest granddaughter at the time, let's see, in 2000, I was selling it by that time, but when she started drinking tea about age 3 or 4, this was her favorite. It still is her favorite, and she's 21.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But she used to put milk in it, which to my horror, she put milk in it, but she loved it because it turned pink.
Yeah.
She loved the color of it.
Angel Falls Mist is got, I don't think I've demonstrated this one before.
I don't think so.
Apple, rosehip, orange pieces, hibiscus, calendula, and it's a nice
It
herbal.
is so good.
It's a nice mild fruity herbal.
Yeah.
And it's not flowery.
No.
It's nice. And then the same with Orange Grove Vanilla. And I've demonstrated. I mean,
I love that one.
This is so good.
Yeah.
It tastes like it sounds, oranges and vanilla, and it's delicious. And are we ready? 2 minutes? Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so this is the lemon drop. Lemon drop is exactly like it sounds. So you just put that over your mug, and it's got a little plate in the bottom, and it decants the tea into your mug perfectly. And
no leaves.
And I always push it with my fingers to make sure I've gotten all of the tea out. You've got no leaves in your tea.
Very good.
And it doesn't really drip, but you do have the drip tray if it does. And there is your lovely cup of green tea.
Wonderful. Yep.
Fabulous. And the lemon drop is really good. It's lemony and it's got apple in it, and it's delish. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. This is the butterscotch brew.
And what kind of tea is that? That's a black tea. And isn't that unusual that it doesn't really look like a dark black tea, does it?
Well, I may have put too much. Well, I put 2 spoons of tea in there.
Yeah, you put the.
I mean, it looks like a black tea.
Yeah.
It's a little lighter.
It's beautiful, though.
That's 3 minutes.
And I'm going to use the tray from this one, but this is that collapsible infuser that's good for travel. It works pretty well. Get all that tea out.
Yeah.
And it collapses down.
Very nice.
Yep. So that's the butterscotch brew.
I want to smell that one.
It's good.
Put that collapsible with the collapsible.
There you go. Perfect. Yep. You got your collapsible.
I love that.
Okay, so then this is the Orange Grove vanilla. And that spoon works pretty well. I don't see any. Of course, this is herbal, so it's not tea.
Do you want something to put that in?
I'm just going to set it on top of that.
Okay.
That looks pretty good.
That's beautiful.
And so this is the Orange Grove vanilla. Herbal.
Beautiful brew. Yep.
And then I'm going to decant the Angel Falls Mist, which I may have put too much water in here, but we'll check it. And again, I want to make sure I get every drop, but that actually
it looks good.
Pretty well. And there you go, Angel Falls Mist, herbal. And there's your tea demo.
Very nice.
Yep. With four cups of tea.
That one I definitely want. I don't think I've tried that one before.
Well, and you can
yeah,
say
and I will because it's a black.
Caffeine.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I think that's it for our demo.
Just have our giveaway to do.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, we have a giveaway.
Hope you're still with us.
And I thank you for sticking with us.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't show this either. Oh, my goodness. We got good giveaways. Okay, I wanted to remind you. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it.
What?
Never mind.
I wanted to remind you that I've started tea sachets. This is Dowager Countess Gray, but I also offer, and it's tea bags. I also offer in lemon souffle, rooibos, and the Tea for All Reasons House Blend Black. So 2 black teas and the rooibos in the tea sachets. These would make great Christmas gifts, stocking stuffers. Those are the only blends that I'm offering in a tea sachet for now. But I do want to remind you that I've got them. Yeah, you have a question?
You've given so many great ideas already for Christmas. You know, to put together a selection of items. You know.
Yeah. A lot of these are really good stocking stuffers.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so we'll show you the scones in a second. So we have 3 items to give away tonight. 2 from Mom, but I'll take them and I'll do it.
Yep.
Molly and I'll do the drawing tomorrow like we do like normal. The keyword is tools, TOOLS. And we'll do it like we've done the multiple drawings in the past. You put your name in one time and we'll do 3 drawings from the same pool of names for each drawing. And so the first one is I'm giving away a 2-ounce bag of Chauffeur's Private Blend. I brought that, but I didn't demonstrate it. But it's a Irish whiskey, chocolatey black tea. It's delicious. It doesn't have whiskey in it. It just has that flavor.
Yeah.
But Chauffeur's Private Blend 2-ounce bag is giveaway number 1.
So
you want
good.
to explain your giveaway?
Yeah. A cherry pitter, the single cherry pitter is for a giveaway. And then one of the spatulas that we talked about that are great for your cookie sheet.
Cookie spatula. Okay, so 3 giveaways. Molly and I will draw the names tomorrow afternoon. And then I'll mail these out this week. And before we show the scones, our next Facebook Live is September 21st. And the event has been created on Facebook here at the Tea for All Reasons page. And so mark it as interested or going, and that way you get notified about it.
Right.
And it is, I wrote falling into autumn, but it's fall, y'all.
Because it's going to be the first day of fall.
Because it will be the first day of fall.
Yeah.
Woo! Our favorite season. It's fall, y'all, is the next Facebook Live, and September 21st.
Yep.
Yep.
Because
we don't know what we're baking yet. We think we know.
We have some ideas,
we
but yeah, we think we know.
Yeah. But it'll be fall themed, and I'll show fall teas and.
Yeah. It'll be fun, y'all.
Yeah. Exactly.
We are from the South.
Technically,
yes.
That's true. Well, you're from New York, but.
No,
You were born in New York.
I was raised a Virginian.
She was raised in the South. That's true.
Doesn't count.
To Southern mother. Anyway, moving on to our scones.
Yeah. And then the finished scones, my mom was awesome and took care of them. This is the finished product.
Look at those. Aren't they
beautiful? They
beautiful?
rose really beautifully. And I'm going to pick one up just to show the bottom. They didn't get too brown on the bottom.
Okay. Let's get a plate.
And, you're going to cut one open?
Yeah. Well, pull it apart.
Okay. So
we're not going to cut.
We'll pull one apart. Yeah. You don't cut them open. You want to have that natural nooks and crannies. See the flaky.
Oh,
you could see the layers. So that's the inside of the scone.
Right. And then I am a jam first.
No. Cream first.
I'm a jam first.
Do the other one cream first.
Cream first.
Do one jam first and one cream first.
Gosh.
Cream first with a little bit of jam. No.
I heard
no,
the
what are
very
you
loud,
doing?
disappointed sigh.
See, I don't even know how to do the cream first.
No, you just dollop it on there generously and then a little bit of jam. There you go. Perfect.
Wrong.
No, perfect.
Okay. A generous dollop of cream.
I did a generous
An
dollop of
even
cream.
amount of both.
Okay.
Whatever.
So there we are. There's
Devin
our
in Cornwall.
finished the origin of, anyway.
Which one?
Beautiful scones.
Thank you.
The main thing is they are beautiful scones, and whatever you put on top, they're beautiful and delicious.
Thank you.
Because we did try one.
They tasted
Yeah.
during a break and they gave approval.
And so I mentioned this very first thing, that this is a mock Devonshire cream, and it's on page 5 of the cookbook. So if you're interested in that, again, it's in Jen's website or on the Etsy page.
Yep.
vintageforallreasons.etsy.com.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for hanging with us. We went an extra 25 minutes.
We did. Wow.
This was the longest one ever, except for the open houses that we did. The
Yeah.
open houses
Makes up
were
for some of the shorties.
Yeah, we had a
It does.
shorty last time, I think.
I think most of them are short lately.
But
So,
thank you.
yeah,
And,
thanks for hanging with. Hope we didn't bore you too much. But hopefully it was helpful for you.
yeah, that's what we want, is
Learn
for it to be
some
helpful and
New things, new tools.
to be inspired to maybe try some new things.
Right.
And to understand, that the tools can really help and make things
Make
simpler.
things easier.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see you next month.
All right.
Have a good rest of your
Bye.
evening.
Good evening.
Bye.
Bye.